Good evening and welcome to Byju's Exam Prep. Am I audible and visible? Am I audible and visible? Krishna, good evening. Anushka, Snega Rajaram, Anushka, Anamika, Sharmi, good evening, everyone. Thank you. Chandrakant, Brajneet, Meshak, Kritisa, let some more people join in and then I'll begin. Naga, Elite. Bhimre, Simran, Bhuvanesh. Gunjan, Garima. Sakshi, yeah. Rupa, Manita. Yes, today I will be beginning with art and culture. Srikanth, good evening, everyone. So let's begin today's session. Today is the first day for art and culture. I have been given 10 sessions. So by the 30th of this month, I should finish art and culture. Now, yeah, Sudhanshu, good evening. So let me give you an overview of art and culture. What are the various topics we would be covering? Generally, an overview of art and culture. So what are the important topics? I have shortlisted important topics after analyzing the last 15, 20 years of papers. And 8 topics are very, very important. 8 topics from the mains point of view, not only the prelims, but also the mains point of view. I will mark those 8 topics later, but then let us understand what all you're going to study as part of art and culture. So on your screen. So here, the first topic which I have shortlisted is Indian architecture, Indian art and architecture. So we will be making a survey of 5,000 years of Indian art and architecture. 5,000 years of Indian art and architecture. So what all we study as part of this art and architecture, the first topic, art and I'm not going to follow the sequence of the topics which I have mentioned. I'll be starting with religious movements today, but anyway, let me give you a overview of these topics, art and architecture. So we will be studying 5,000 years of Indian art and architecture. We start our survey from the Indus civilization, the Harappan civilization or the Indus civilization. Indus civilization. The town planning of the Harappans, the town planning, the other aspects of the civilization. So Indus civilization, town planning, society, economy, then script, Harappan script, pottery, small-scale industries, seals. What are seals? Important sites pertaining to the Harappan civilization like Harappa, Mohenjo-daro, Lothal, Chanudaro, etc. But I've already covered this. I've already covered this as part of ancient India. I had also told you that when I've done ancient India, that I'll not be covering the town planning of the Harappans, the Indus civilization, which because I've covered it in a very broad manner when I did ancient India. So anyway, we start our survey from here, Indus civilization, town planning, and the civilization as such, and various aspects of their culture, including the origin of the civilization and the decline, and important aspects of the civilization, including the Sirperadio method of casting bronze images, the Harappan pottery, which is called black on red ware, the unique town planning of the Harappans, the way they designed the cities. All this is part of your art and architecture topic. Then we jump to the Mauryan civilization. We jump to Mauryan civilization. So, sorry, Mauryas. So Mauryan age, rather, Mauryan age. So I will be starting my survey of art and architecture from Mauryan age. So Mauryan age, we see the usage of stone. What is the reason as to why the Mauryas began to use stone in architecture? Before the Mauryas came to power, wood was the medium of architecture. Wood was used. So the Mauryas replaced wood with stone. So what are the reasons as to why the Mauryas began to use stone instead of wood? And the Mauryan art is divided into 2 parts. Mauryan art is divided into 2 parts. You have the court art and popular art. Now, what is court art? What is popular art? What all we study as part of court art, I'll tell you later. So court art and popular art. So what is the difference between the two, and what are the various aspects of court art? Like for example, palaces, Mauryan palaces, then stupas. We'll study about stupas, then viharas, right, and pillars, the pillars of Ashoka. This is called court art. Court art is that art which only the government or the king can afford. Common people like you and me cannot afford to build a palace or install a pillar or build a stupa, etc. So only the king or the government of the day could afford it, and that's why it's called court art. Palaces, stupas, viharas, or monasteries, and pillars. The pillars are also called the lords of Ashoka, right? So we'll be discussing all these things. And popular art is where common people like you and me collected donations. They collected money in various denominations, small and big, and then they utilize that money to install a idol or an image or a sculpture. That is called popular art. We talk about all those things. So modern age, we have um, modern art divided into court art and popular art, right? Then we come to the post-Maurya period. Post-Maurya period. Are you there, all of you? Did you get me here? Are you able to hear me? People who joined late, you're able to see me and hear me clearly. I'm just giving you overall bird's eye view, no, so that you understand what all we're going to study as part of art and architecture and Indian art and culture. So Mauryan art divided to court art and popular art, and then we come to the post-Maurya period. And your knowledge of ancient India, your knowledge of medieval India will help you here. We have done ancient India thoroughly, broadly, and of course even medieval India. In the post-Maurya period, you remember post-Maurya period is from 200 BC to 300 AD, isn't it? And during this period, a number of foreign tribes came to India. We have the Great Wall of China, which was completed around this time. And since the wall was built around this time, it was completed. It was difficult for Central Asian tribes to penetrate into China. And they began to look for other areas where they can loot and plunder. So during this period, we have some foreigners coming into India, like the Indo-Greeks. The Indo-Greeks came to India. The Indo-Greeks came. Then we have the Shakas or the Scythians coming. Then the Parthians came. And then the Kushanas came. Kushans, right? Kushanas came. So during this period, what do we study as part of post-Mauryan period? We study three forms of art. We study the Gandhara school of art, Gandhara school of art. So Gandhara art, Mathura art, Mathura school of art, and Amaravati school of art. Amaravati art. So three schools of art we study: Gandhara, Mathura, Amaravati schools of art. So Gandhara art was Gandhara art in northwest portions of India, present-day Pakistan, Afghanistan. You have Kabul, Kandahar. In that area, we have the Gandhara school of art, which is basically a Greco-Roman school of art, a Greco-Roman school of art, which gradually got indigenized. And Buddha began to be depicted as a Greco-Roman god. Buddha was given a mustache. Buddha was given a beard. He was given a robust physique, a very well-built physique in the sculptures. So this is the school, distinct school of art which came into existence in the northwest portions of India, right? And then we'll talk about the features of Gandhara art, what type of sculptures were made or carved, what are the Greek elements in Gandhara art, what are the Roman elements in Gandhara art, etc. Then Mathura school of art. Mathura school of art was patronized by the Shungas and the Kushanas. The Shungas and the Kushanas patronized Mathura school of art. The Gandhara school of art was patronized by the Indo-Greeks or the Bactrian Greeks. Then Amaravati school of art in down south, the Shatavahanas, the Ikshvakus, they patronized the Amaravati school of art. In present day, Krishna Godavari Delta, places like Amaravati, Goli, Gantashala, Jaggayapeta, and of course Amaravati. In these places, we have a distinct school of art which came into existence called Amaravati School of Art. We will be discussing these three schools of art, its features, etc. Right? Then we come to Gupta period. Post Maurya, then Gupta. So what happened in the Gupta period? We have three forms of temple building which came into existence. Three forms of temple building. We have the Shilpa Shastra books, the books on Indian architecture, which talk about three forms of temple building or three styles of temple building. Right? So I'll use another page. I'll go to another page here. I'll use another page. So we have three forms of temple building. So please, I seek your attention here. So North Indian style of temple building is called Nagara. Nagara style, North India, Nagara style. This is in North India. So what are the important characteristic features of Nagara style of temple building? We will discuss all those things. They were built according to the Panchayatana style. What is Panchayatana style of temple building? They were made of bricks. There's no boundary wall around a North Indian temple. There's no temple tank in a North Indian temple, and so on and so forth. Then we have the southern style, the Dravida style. Dravida is in South India, the Dravida style of temple building. So North Indian style of temple building is called Nagara, and South Indian style is called Dravida. And a combination of these two, combination of Nagara and Dravida is called Vesara or mule style. Vesara style. Vesara. So which had elements of both Nagara and Dravida. Right. Now you have some standard Nagara features, standard features of a Nagara temple. We will discuss about it. Then what do we know? What we notice is in the central portion of India, central portion of India. So here you can see, if I draw a line like this, I may make a circle like this. Which is the state here? This here you have Orissa, and here we have Madhya Pradesh, and here we have Gujarat and Rajasthan. So in a straight line, Orissa, Madhya Pradesh, and Gujarat, we see some extra features added to Nagara style. We have some standard Nagara features. I'll discuss about it. Like for example, I told you in a Nagara temple, in the northern side of temple building, you don't have a boundary wall. There's no compound wall or a boundary wall around a temple generally. Then temples are built of bricks. It has been built on an upraised platform or a jagati. There's an upraised platform. The pradakshina, or what is called circumambulation. So after the darshan of the god or the goddess, you're supposed to go around the idol or go around the sanctum sanctorum. So here the pradakshina patha, or this what you call the circumambulation, is within the temple. So there's a roof above the head. If it is raining heavily or it is very, very hot, you'll not be affected because you're inside the temple, right? So these are some of the features of a Nagara temple. But then what we notice is in Orissa, Madhya Pradesh. So here, this is Orissa here, Orissa. Then we have Madhya Pradesh and Gujarat and Rajasthan. Now, in these three states, we have some extra features added to a standard Nagara temple. So what are those extra features? We'll talk about it. These are called regional variations to Nagara style or substyles of Nagara styles. These are also called substyles. Substyles to Nagara style. So what are the extra features added in Orissa temples, then Madhya Pradesh temples, and also Gujarat temple, Gujarat and Orissa, Rajasthan temples, right? Ambulatory is what? Circumambulation. You go around the temple. What do you call parikrama? In Hindi, North India, they're called parikrama. In South India, it is called pradakshina. So it is, meaning the same. In English, circumambulation, going around the temple. Then we come to Dravida temples. Okay. Bhuvanesh, I'll come to those details later. Just hold on. Okay. We'll come to those temples. We'll come to those details later. Why Nagara temple is not called Aryan temple? In the Shilpa Shastra book, they have not used that word. Aryan and Dravidian, I told you, are linguistic groups. It doesn't have any racial connotation. Bhuvanesh, it doesn't have any racial connotation. It only refers to people who speak a group of languages, right? So in the Shilpa Shastra books, they have used Nagara, Dravida, Vesara. These are the three names mentioned in the Shilpa Shastra books on Indian architecture. Okay, so Dravida temple. So we have the Pallavas. Understand this? We have the Pallavas who laid the foundation of the Dravida style. Then we have the Cholas who improved upon the foundation laid by the Pallavas. So Pallavas followed by the Cholas. And all the features of a Dravida temple are seen in Chola temples. All the features of a Dravida temple are seen in Chola temples. And then we have other dynasties, other South Indian dynasties who came after the Cholas, like for example, the Pandyas. Okay, then we have the Vijayanagar kings. Then we have, of course, the Nayakas who ruled Jinji, Vellore, Madurai, etc. These southern rulers added some extra features to a standard Dravida temple. For example, understand this. For example, the Vijayanagar kings added a Kalyana Mandapa. So they highlighted the Kalyana Mandapa into a Dravida temple. Kalyana Mandapa. What's a Kalyana Mandapa? Kalyana Mandapa is where the god and the goddess are married on ceremonial occasions. So the people like you and me, common people, witness this marriage. It's a divine marriage. So they may be married many times in a year, but generally it is once in a year. This divine marriage takes place in that hall called Kalyana Mandapa, and that hall was highlighted by the Vijayanagar kings. Then we have the Nayakas who ruled Tanjavur or Tanjore in Tamil Nadu, Madurai, Jinji, Vellore. So these Nayakas added 1,000-pillared hall to a Dravida temple. There were no 1,000-pillared halls. So these halls have 1,000 pillars. For example, in the Madurai Meenakshi temple, or Meenakshi Sundareshwara temple at Madurai in Tamil Nadu, we have a 1,000-pillared hall. So 1,000-pillared halls were added to Dravida temples by the Nayaka rulers. So we will talk about the standard Dravida temple, what are the important features of a Dravida temple, and then we will look at the extra elements or extra features added to a Dravida temple by other South Indian rulers. Hello, are you there with me? Did you get me that? So just listen to me like a story. Just understand, I'm giving you a broad picture of art and culture. It's very easy. Nothing to get complicated, nothing to feel complicated, and don't get scared at all. It is very simple. You just have to understand. It's about understanding, right? So Nagara, then we have regional variations to Nagara in Orissa, Madhya Pradesh, and Gujarat, Rajasthan. Then I told you Dravida foundation was laid by the Pallava rulers. Then we have the Cholas who improved upon that foundation. All the features of a Dravida temple are found in Chola temples. But then we have other South Indian dynasties who added some extra elements or features to a Dravida temple. Vesara style, we come to Vesara style later. So who are the people who introduced the Vesara style? That is, which has elements of both North India and South India. So here the Chalukyas of Badami, Chalukyas of Badami, we have done that as part of ancient India. You remember the Pallava Chalukya conflict where Harshavardhana was defeated by the Chalukyan king Pulakesi the second. So these are Chalukyas of Badami. They ruled from Badami or Vatapi in the present Bagalkot district of Karnataka. And they ruled over a buffer zone. They ruled over a buffer zone that is somewhere in between North and South India. So therefore, they have borrowed both North Indian and South Indian features in their temple building. So the Vesara style was begun by the Chalukyas of Badami. Chalukyas of Badami. Then we have their successors, the Rashtrakutas. The Rashtrakutas also followed the Vesara style, followed by their feudatories, the Kalyana Chalukyas. And then you have the Hoysalas. So these four dynasties followed the Vesara style. Chalukyas of Badami, Rashtrakutas, Kalyana Chalukyas, and the Hoysalas. So we will be discussing about Vesara style later, and including standard features of a Hoysala temple, etc. Right? So we will be discussing all these things. This is your ancient India architecture. Hello, this is your ancient Indian architecture, art and architecture. Then we jump to medieval India. As part of art and architecture. I'm discussing art and architecture. You can see here on your screen, art, architecture. So we'll be talking about Islamic art and architecture. We have the establishment of the Delhi Sultanate. Delhi Sultanate established in 1206. You all know that, 1206 to 1526. So here you have the Turks. The first four dynasties which ruled the Delhi Sultanate were Turks. They were Turks by race. And we have some Islamic elements introduced into Indian art and architecture. For example, we have a superior mortar. What is mortar? Mortar is a binding agent, like a cement. So they use superior mortar, the Turks, in their buildings. They introduced the jali work, perforated windows. Then they introduced the arch and the dome. So in India, we have the slab and the beam method. Understand this? In India, we had the slab and the beam method. These are the beams and this is the slab, right? So here, for example, if you see high-rise buildings now, flats nowadays. So what does the architect or the engineer do? He'll put up a firm foundation and then he'll raise pillars, right? He'll raise pillars like this, right? And then this is called beam. These are called beams, and this is called a slab. So therefore, it is called a slab and a beam method. So the beams are taking, or the pillars are taking the weight of the building, and the weight of the roof is held by the slab. It is taking the weight of the roof or the ceiling. So Indians are very familiar with the slab and the beam method. Now what did the Turks do? They introduced the arch and the dome. They introduced the arch and the dome, and they combined these two beautifully. So this is called arcuate trabeate methods. This is called arcuate and this is called trabeate. So the arcuate and trabeate methods of building construction were beautifully combined in a very pleasing manner. Arch as a design concept existed in ancient India, but it was forgotten. We have the arch seen in the Barabara Hills. In the entrance to the Barabara Hills, we have an arch. We have an arch in the Damek Stupa. But then this design of an arch had been forgotten. The Turks reintroduced this arch concept or design. And then, of course, they introduced domes. So we will talk about all these things, the slab and the beam method, the trabeate method. So it was beautifully combined. Then in Islam, in Islamic buildings, it is not allowed to depict humans, animals, whereas in Hindu temples, you can depict humans, females, males, animals, mythological, or imaginary creatures. All these can be depicted. The entire cosmos is depicted, imaginary and real, on the outer walls of a temple, of a Hindu temple. But in Islam, it is not allowed. Therefore, they use geometrical designs. They use arabesque. They use pitradura. They use calligraphy. So all these are the new design concepts or elements introduced by the Turks, by the Muslim rulers. So we'll talk about that. Then, of course, the Indo-Islamic architecture is divided into three parts. We have, the first part where we have the first stage is from the 11th to the 14th century, 1100 to the 1400. Then the second stage we have from the 1400 to the coming of the Mughals, that is from till about 1526. And this was the period when the central authority became weak. So we'll talk about all those things. I'll tell you later. The different stages through which we talk about in Indo-Islamic architecture. And during the second stage, what we notice is Alauddin Khalji dies in 13. Alauddin Khalji, as you know, ruled from 1296 to 1316. So Alauddin Khalji dies in 1316, and once he died, the central authority became weak. The central government became weak, And in the provinces, we have a number of independent Muslim kingdoms established. Like, for example, you have Muslim rule in Gujarat, in Bengal, in Jaunpur, in Malwa, in Kashmir, then even in the Deccan like Gulbarga, Bijapur, etc. So here we have Muslim rule in all these areas, and we have provincial architecture. In these provinces, we have some new architectural elements, new buildings which were introduced or built in the provinces. Then, of course, we come to the Mughals, from Babur to Aurangzeb. Important buildings built by Babur. Babur, busy fighting wars. He built a few mosques. He built 4 mosques. Babur. Then Humayun, no time to build anything. He built the city of Deenpana, the sixth city of Delhi. But then he lost the throne to Sher Shah. But then once Humayun died, his tomb was built by one of his wives, Hamida Banu Begum. Then Akbar was a great builder. He built many palaces. He built forts like the Agra fort. He founded the city of Fatehpur Sikri. He built the tallest gateway in the world, the Buland Darwaza. So we'll talk about all those things. Then, of course, Jahangir. Jahangir more interested in painting than buildings. But his favorite wife, Nur Jahan, built a tomb for her father, Itimaduddaulah's tomb, which is in Agra. The first Mughal monument built of pure marble, entirely marble. The first Mughal tomb built of marble, the Itimaduddaulah tomb. Then, of course, the greatest builder was Shah Jahan. Shah Jahan was the greatest builder. All the buildings built by Shah Jahan, including, of course, the Taj Mahal, the Red Fort, the Jama Masjid, etc. Aurangzeb, not interested in buildings. He felt it is a waste of money. However, he built 2 mosques. One is the Badshahi Mosque in Lahore, in Pakistan, which he built. And, of course, within the Red Fort in Delhi, he built a mosque for his personal prayers. So then, of course, a few buildings were built by the later Mughals, right? And then we come to European architecture, the coming of the Europeans, the Portuguese, the Dutch, the English, the Danes, and the French in that order. That's how the Europeans came: Portuguese, Dutch, English, Danes, Denmark, and then lastly French. So the Portuguese introduced the Iberian style of architecture. Whatever was there in Portugal, they introduced the same architecture here in India. We can see the Portuguese architecture in Goa particularly, which became their headquarters later. Then they introduced Baroque churches, So we'll talk about all those things. Then the French introduced anonymous architecture. They built modern cities on the Cartesian grid plan. Modern planning was used, like Chandigarh or Puducherry or Pondicherry in Tamil, near Tamil Nadu. So these are all the French architecture we see in these places, like in Chandernagore in Bengal or in Puducherry or Pondicherry. We see French architecture. Then, of course, the British introduced the Gothic style, and when it merged with the Indian style, it became Indo-Gothic style or Victorian style. We'll talk about all those things. And in 1911, we have the capital of India shifted from Calcutta to Delhi, Lutyens Delhi, designed by Edward Lutyens and Edward Baker, Edwin Lutyens and Edward Baker, the North Block, the South Block, the Parliament House, the Viceregal Lodge, or now called the Rashtrapati Bhavan. They were all designed by Edwin Lutyens, including the Mughal Gardens. Inside the Rashtrapati Bhavan, we have the Mughal Gardens, which was recently named as Amrit Udyan. So they were all designed by Edwin Lutyens, right? And then what is the feature of this type of architecture? So this is your Indian art and architecture, and of course I've added a few important architects of modern India, including Charles Correa. Charles Correa is considered to be the greatest Indian architect of the modern era. He died a few years back, and including B.V. Joshi, Balkrishna Doshi, etc. So this is entire survey of Indian art and architecture in brief. Hello, did you get me that? So this is the a survey of Indian art and architecture. Did you get me that? Are you there with me, all of you? Right. Then we come to Indian painting. We'll be discussing about Indian painting, entire, what is. I'm giving a survey, Bonesh, Jaswant, right? Are you able to catch me here, all of you? So I just discussed art and architecture. We'll be similarly discussing other topics like Indian painting, entire story of Indian painting. What is a fresco? What's a mural? Right? Then a prehistoric art in early man used to stay inside caves, and we find some paintings inside those caves on the walls and very near to the ceilings also, like at Bhimbetka, Navada, Sarguja, Yasutu Guha in Kerala, etc. So what are the type of themes in which paintings were done? The flora and the fauna, nature. What was the type of brush used? The colors derived, minerals from natural minerals, and of course plant extracts. Colors were derived. Right. And then we talk about the entire story of Indian painting, Indus painting found on pots. Then, of course, you have the, directly we jump to the Gupta period paintings. Gupta period paintings seen in Ajanta, Bagh, Sittanavasal. Then pre-medieval paintings, then medieval paintings, paintings of the Pandyas, the Pallavas, the Cholas, Vijayanagar kings. Then, Rajput paintings, divided Rajasthani and Pahadi paintings, Mughal paintings, then the company school, Patna school, important painters of the modern era. including paintings during the British period. So we make a complete survey of Indian painting. Okay, then we come to Indian music. So Hari, just hold on. I will answer all your questions when we come to there. Just hold on. Then we have Indian music. Indian music, we'll be discussing all this like Carnatic music, Hindustani music, right? Then the elements of Indian music, anatomy of music like swar, tal, musical instruments, including folk musical instruments, etc. So that is another topic which we'll be discussing. Then we have Indian dance. Indian dance, like classical dances of India. There are 8 classical dances like Bharatanatyam, Odissi, Kathakali, Kuchipudi, Mohiniyattam, etc. Satriya. So classical dances, where strict rules are followed. So we'll be talking about classical dances of India. Then folk dances in the length and breadth of India. We have various types of folk dances which are dances of the people, of the common people. And people dance to mark important occasions like marriage or change of seasons or during a harvest festival, okay, etc. So you have unique costumes worn, headgears, then jewelry worn, and they have their own musical instruments. So that's called folk music. Similarly, we have tribal music, tribal dance in different parts of India. We have different tribes and have their unique dances, like the bison dance or the gore dance, as it is called, okay, etc., or bamboo dance, etc. Generally, whatever is in the news, that becomes relevant. Whatever is in the news becomes relevant with respect to Indian dance. And of course, martial dances like Gatka, Tanka, Kalaripayattu of Kerala, etc. Then we have religions in India, different religions in India like Buddhism, Jainism, then everything about Buddhism, how Siddhartha became Buddha, the teachings of the Buddha, right? And then contribution of Buddhism to art, architecture, literature. Then the various Buddhist councils which took place after the death of the Buddha. What is Hinayana? What is Mahayana? Vajrayana Buddhism? What is Vajrayana Buddhism? What are the reasons for the popularity of Buddhism? Similarly, what are the reasons for the decline of Buddhism, etc. Similarly, everything about Jainism, how Vardhaman became Mahavir, what is the meaning of a Tirthankara? There are 24 Tirthankaras in Jainism. So, what is the meaning of a Tirthankara? Contribution of Jainism to art, architecture, literature, right? And then division in the Jain Sangha into Digambar and Shwetambar. What's the difference between the two, etc. Similarly, Bhagavatism. It is a worship of Krishna, Bhagavatism. So, what was the reason for the birth of Bhagavatism, the revival of Bhagavatism rather, and how later Bhagavatism was absorbed completely by Vaishnavism and Krishna became an avatar of Vishnu. So, we'll talk about all those things. And of course, the oldest sect of India, the native faith of India, Shaivism. So, Pashupati Mahadeva of the Harappans became Rudra in the Vedic period and later became Shiva. So, the extreme Shaiva sects, moderate Shaiva sects, the Shaiva Acharyas or the philosophers. So, all these things I'll be discussing. Okay. Then, of course, you have schools of philosophy with different schools of philosophy, like we have the Charvaka philosophy or the Lokayata philosophy, Ajivika philosophy, and then the Darshanas, Sankhya, Yoga, Nyaya, Vaisheshika, Purva Mimamsa, Uttar Mimamsa. So, what is the meaning of these philosophies? So, what is philosophy? They discuss about topics like Atma, Atma, that is soul, rebirth, whether there is rebirth after a person dies, whether there is God, etc. So, all these things are come under the topic of philosophy. Then, of course, we'll be talking about Indian literature. So, in ancient India, we have Sanskrit literature. That was the main language in ancient India, Sanskrit. That was the language of the elite sections of society, the rich and the influential sections. And then the Desha Bhasha, the language of the masses, was Prakrit. So, Prakrit has two dialects. Prakrit, we have Pali and Ardhamagadi. Pali and Ardhamagadi. Buddha spoke in Pali and Vardhaman Mahavira spoke in Ardhamagadi. These are two dialects of Prakrit. So Prakrit was the Desha Bhasha, the language of the masses, unlike Sanskrit, which was the language of the elite. And then, of course, apart from, so we'll be studying entire aspect of literature, ancient Indian literature. Literature is a very popular topic in the UPSC, both in the prelims as well as the mains. Basically, it's factual in nature, but still, UPSC has asked questions from this particular topic, literature. It's very important. So we'll be talking about the various books written in Sanskrit, the various areas like poems, dramas, or natakas, didactic literature. What is didactic literature? Champus, shatakas, then epics like Ramayana, Mahabharata, etc. Vedic literature. So everything, all these books are in Sanskrit language, including scientific literature, books on mathematics, astronomy, astrology, physics, chemistry, etc. All written in Sanskrit language in ancient India. Then, with the coming of Buddhism and Jainism, we have the development of Prakrit, particularly Pali and Ardhamagadi. So, entire Buddhist literature is in two languages. One is in Pali, the Hinayana literature is in Pali, and the Mahayana literature is in Sanskrit. We'll discuss about Buddhist literature, important books written by in Pali, similarly, books written by the Buddhists in Sanskrit language. Then of course books written in Prakrit. The entire mostly it is written in Prakrit language. The Jain literature is in Prakrit language. So apart from Sanskrit, Pali and Prakrit, we have also the Dravidian languages. The oldest Dravidian language is Tamil, followed by Kannada, then Telugu and Malayalam. So important books written in these languages. Development of Tamil, the Sangam literature, important books written during the Sangam age. Okay, similarly the Shaiva, Shaiva saints called Nayanars, 63 Nayanars, who composed devotional literature in Tamil language in praise of Shiva, called Dravida Veda, Tirumurai. So similarly, the 12 Alvars, Vaishnava saints who wrote Prabandhas in praise of Vishnu. So all these come under the category of Tamil literature. And there are still more to discuss. We'll talk about it. Similarly, Kannada literature. Important books written in Kannada language from ancient times. Pampa, Panna, Ranna. These are the three Trimurtis or triumvirate of Kannada literature. So development of Kannada literature, development of Telugu literature, including the Ashtadigajas in the court of Krishnadevaraya. Yesterday we have seen this when I did Vijayanagara chapter. I told you they have asked a question about literature during the Vijayanagar period and how Krishnadevaraya was a patron of literature. So this is basically a literature topic. So they asked about Telugu literature. Similarly, they could ask you about Kannada literature next time, or maybe about Tamil literature. We don't know. So therefore, we have to make a survey of all these things. And then medieval literature. When we talk about medieval India, basically we have a number of books written in Persian language. The Delhi Sultans patronized Persian language and literature. Similarly, the Mughals also patronized Persian language and literature. So a number of books on various subjects, histories, so official history, unofficial histories, biographies, autobiographies, encyclopedias, scientific literature. So many books were written in medieval times in Persian language and very few books written in Arabic. So what is the reason as to why Persian was promoted and not Arabic? We'll talk about all those things. Right. Similarly, then we go to another important topic, Bhakti and Sufi movement. So what is this Bhakti movement? How did it begin? Important Bhakti saints of South India and how Bhakti as a movement from South went to the North. Important Bhakti saints of North India. So important Bhakti saints of South India like Shankaracharya, Ramanuja, Madhvacharya and their philosophies. Vallabhacharya. Similarly, North India, Ramananda, Chaitanya, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Kabir, Mirabai, Tulsidas. Then we have the Maharashtra Bhakti saints like Gnanadev, Eknath, Tukaram, Ramdas, and various books written by these saints. Similarly, we have the people like Kabir, Chaitanya, Dadu Dayal of Rajasthan, or Gujarat rather, Dadu Dayal of Gujarat. So all these are important Bhakti saints. And similarly, Sufi movement. What is Sufism? Important Sufi orders like the Chishti order, the Qadri, Naqshbandi, Firdausi, Shattari, etc. So what is the meaning of Sufism? Who were the various founders of these Sufi orders in India, or rather who introduced these orders in India? And some terminologies about Sufism and what is their contribution of Bhakti and Sufi saints. Are you there with me? Hello, all of you. Right? Then we come to Indian puppetry. What do you study as part of puppetry? Different types of puppet, like rod puppet, glow puppet, then shadow puppet. So different parts of India, we have different types of puppets, string puppets, known by different names. So that is another topic, puppetry. Then we have coins from ancient to modern times, like ancient Indian coins. Like for example, we have seen this Bactrian Greeks or Indo-Greeks introduced. They were the first to introduce gold coins. Kushanas introduced gold coins on a large scale, and the Guptas introduced the largest amount of gold coins. So important coinage of various dynasties from ancient medieval times, pre-Maurya, Maurya, Indo-Greek, Shaka, Kushana, Gupta, Delhi Sultanate coinage, Mughal coinage, etc. Then science and technology of India down the ages. Science and technology in ancient India, like for example, mathematics, astronomy, physics, chemistry, medicine. So what was the development of all these subjects in ancient India? Similarly, the status of science and technology in medieval India, right? So this is what we study. Then we have cultural institutions in India like Archaeological Survey of India, Lalit Kala Academy, Sahitya Academy, the ICHR, etc. So their contributions, all those things, cultural institutions of India. Then calendars in India like Vikrama Samvat, Shaka Samvat, Hijri Era, Gregorian calendar, etc. Then UNESCO, cultural and world heritage sites like Ajanta or Aihole, Patadakal, etc. Then status of women down the ages from ancient times to modern times. So women is an important topic, including SC/ST in UPSC exam. So women, status of women down the sati, dowry, child marriages. How did the women lose their importance in society? All those things. Status of women down the ages. Then tribals of India, various tribals, various aspects of their life and culture. Generally, what is in the news becomes important. For example, if there's an article on the tribes of Andaman Nicobar Islands, like the Sentinelese or the Jaravas, no, Northeast tribes or tribal dances. So these things become important. Various tribals of India. Then education down the ages. What was the education in ancient India? The various mutts, or then the Ghatikas or the schools, important education institutions in ancient India like the Kanchi Ghatikasthana or the Nagavi Ghatikasthana. Then similarly, we have great universities like Vikramashila, Nalanda, etc. So we talk about education down the ages in ancient India. What was the method of education? What are the various subjects taught, right? Then what was the status of education in medieval times? What happened to education under the Delhi Sultans, under the Mughals? What are the type of subjects taught? What was the status of education? So that is about education, including modern times, before the coming of the, before the establishment of the English rule in India. That is during the company rule, during the East India Company. What was the progress of education under the East India Company? And then once the Parliament took over after the Sepoy Mutiny, what was the progress of education in India after 1857? So that's about it. Then we have travelers who came to India from ancient times. Fahian, first Chinese traveler, his observations. Then Hyun Sang, what are his observations? What are the places he visited? What are the various observations he makes? Itzing. Then travelers who came in the medieval times, like Al Masudi, Al Beruni. Travelers who came to Vijayanagara, like Ibn Battuta, Domingo Paz, Fernão Nunes, Barbosa. Similarly, travelers who came to the Mughal court, like Manucci, Ralph Fitch, Tavernier, Bernier, and so on and so forth. So, what are the various observations made by these travelers? During whose period they came? What are the observations made by them? All those things. Then society and economy during Mauryan and Gupta period. Then rebellions and revolts. Of course, this comes under modern India, like the Satnami revolt, the Jat revolt, peasant revolts in from in early British times or in early modern times, the tribal revolts, various tribal revolts, lower caste movements, trade union movements, yeah, all these things as part of modern India. So you'll study about rebellions, revolts, then leaders with revolutionary impact like Raja Ram Mohan Roy and his Brahma Samaj, his contributions, Ishwachandra Vidyasagar, his contribution towards women's education, all those things. And important, like Jyotiba Phule, Veerasalingam Pantulu, so all these leaders. So apart from this, of course, you have handicrafts. Handicrafts is an important topic, and then be very alert about current affairs, whatever is there in the Indian Express newspaper, along with Hindu, Indian Express and Hindu. So whatever comes here, you have a UPSC special in Indian Express. So last 1.5 years of that, and now also the Hindu. So whatever magazines, whatever is magazine is given by Byju's, we update that. So that could also be relied upon, apart from your newspaper information on current affairs, which you keep on updating on a daily basis. So Nitin Singhania's book is the Bible for Art and Culture, led by the latest edition in Art and Culture with Nitin Singhania. And we have a 11th standard book on fine art by NCRT. So that should be sufficient, including current affairs. So be very alert about current affairs. So you go through ancient thoroughly, then medieval India thoroughly, right? And then, of course, then you read art and culture, and then be aware of your current affairs and whatever is there in the current affairs that becomes relevant. For example, we have the hill forts of Maharashtra, which has been India's entry into 2023-24 UNESCO World Heritage List. India's entry is that the hill forts of Maharashtra, various forts built by Shivaji and the Marathas. So you make a special study of those hill forts because it is in the current affairs like that. Did you understand? So this is your general survey of art and culture, overall survey. Down the ages is from ancient to modern times, Jayashree. Yeah, it is the Islamic calendar, Ankush. Yeah, GI tag also. Whatever is whatever product has got a GI tag. Okay, that is also in the news. That is also part of art and culture. 100% Gunjan. Now, in these whatever topics I've shortlisted, these 8 topics are very important. So, so please make a special study of these 8 topics from the point of view of mains, not only mains but also prelims, but mostly from the mains point of view, but also prelims. So number 1 is art and architecture. Art and architecture, very important from the mains point of view, from the exam point of view. Art and architecture, painting, Indian painting, then literature. Number 4, dance, music. Number 6, religion and philosophy. Number 7, science and technology, S&T. And number 8 is education. These are the 8 topics, very important. Art, architecture, painting, literature, dance, music, religion and philosophy, science and technology, education. These are the 8 topics. You please read thoroughly. Okay, and the other topics revolve around these topics. Other topics which is there in the list I have given you revolve around these topics, right? Including current affairs. Whatever is there in the current affairs, last 1.5 years. If you're writing the exam this year, then last 1 to 1.5 years of current affairs, art and culture section. Yeah, for mains, for prelims and mains, mostly from the mains point of view also. So when you study this, you study this from the mains point of view. Okay, so we will be discussing these 8 topics thoroughly. Yes, 100%. From history perspective, yes, from the art and culture and history perspective, science and technology is important. For example, last year in the mains, they've asked about science and technology in the Delhi during the period of the Delhi Sultans. So when I come there, I'll suggest one specific book for you. Just read that book. It will cover broadly all the aspects of science and tech. Just one book that should solve the problem. Bhuvanesh, you're too young. You're only 16.5 years. So therefore, you don't need to read current affairs. You read your traditional books, traditional subjects, history, economy, polity, geography. Of course, you can keep in touch with current affairs from the interest point of view to know what's happening around, right? But then don't spend too much of time on your current affairs. Read all your traditional areas: history, economy, polity, science and tech, the basics, physics, chemistry, biology, etc. All those things. Yeah, these are the important things, Srikanth. These are the important topics, right? Art and architecture, painting, literature, dance, music, religion and philosophy, science and tech, education. Okay, Ankush. Okay, got it. I'll try to write it in colored pen. Yeah, that could also be there, Garima. Award, various awards. Uh, Gnanapita Award. That'll all come under literature, isn't it? That'll come under literature, or somebody got an award for painting. That comes under painting topic. So either way, that comes under current affairs. So you can slot it accordingly. The Magsaysay Award, okay, or Academy Awards, different awards. Yeah, whatever is Pihu, you're in 12th standard, okay. You can read that painting book if it is relevant from the exam point, from the UPSC point of view. Obviously, if you're in NCRT, CBSE school, it will be relevant. You can read that book. Okay, we'll come back here. Are you there with me, all of you? Clear? Pihu, Garima, Bhuvanesh? No, not that. Not the genetic practices of horses in science. No, they'll not ask you about those things, Ankush. Please study the previous year question papers, Ankush, to know what type of questions come from various subjects like science and technology, economy, polity, history, art and culture. Please make a thorough study of the last 15, 20 years of UPSC mains question papers, mains and prelims. Make a thorough study of that. Then you already have books in the market where the topics have been segregated. The questions have been segregated topic wise. So, for example, dance, Indian dance. What all the questions have come from Indian dance topic in the mains. Similarly, painting. What are the various questions asked by UPSC from the painting topic? Similarly, art and architecture, literature, like that. Okay. Did you understand? So, can we start the first topic? Let's move on. So, let's talk about religious movements, Buddhism and Jainism. Buddhism and Jainism, religious movements, right? So let us talk about these two religions, Buddhism and Jainism, and of course I've added Bhagavatism, Shaivism also in this chapter. Very interesting, and of course very important from the exam point of view. UPSC every year keeps on asking questions from Buddhism and Jainism, or one of them, either in the prelims or in the mains. So therefore, I have decided to do Buddhism and Jainism first. So synopsis of this topic: importance of the 6th century BC. Let me talk to you about that initially. Then causes for the rise of heterodox sects. What is the meaning of heterodox sects and what are the causes for their rise? Then everything about Buddhism, the history of Buddhism, Gautama Buddha alive, how Siddhartha became Buddha. Then the teachings of the Buddha. What is the Sangha, the monastic order established by the Buddha, the monastic order established by the Buddha. Hari, what's your question? Can you ask me the question, Hari? Then various Buddhist councils which took place. What is Hari's question? Hari, you have to retype your question. Okay, Buddhist councils, various meetings or councils took place after the death of the Buddha. So we'll discuss about these councils, where it took place, what are the results of these councils. Then what is Hinayana, Mahayana, what are the differences between Hinayana and Mahayana, the two major divisions within the Buddhist Sangha. So what is Hinayana, Mahayana? Then Vajrayana Buddhism, what is Vajrayana Buddhism? The spread of Buddhism, the reasons for the popularity of Buddhism, then causes for the decline of Buddhism, then the Ashtamahasthanas. What is Ashtamahasthanas? 8 holy places. 8 holy places connected with Buddhism. So which the Buddhists consider as holy. So why do they consider them as holy? We'll talk about it. Then the questions which have appeared from this topic in the prelims as well as mains. The question is not very clear, Hari. The burials in ancient period were existed with tombs. I don't understand your question. How do we determine archate from Delhi Sultan onwards? No, that is a arch and the dome. Arch and the dome. What has that connection? What has the arch or the dome got to do with your question? Burials of ancient India. I did not understand. What is the connection, Hari? So please frame your question properly because I'm not able to understand. So arch and dome was a design element introduced by the Turks, right? And arch as a design was known to ancient Indians. But you're talking about burials in ancient period was existed from tombs, right? I have no. No. Tomb structure was existed already before ancient times. No. I don't see. You have a burial grave. A grave was there, right? When a person was buried, you have a burial mound. That's called a burial mound, right? So burial mound existed, and later day the stupa concept is from there. It is supposed to be an extension of the Vedic burial mound, right? So if you are saying a tomb existed, no, I would not agree with you. There's no tomb in ancient times. If you're talking about a Muslim tomb as such, a burial grave existed, not a tomb. Okay. Weightage of art and culture in prelims. It depends, Krishna. See, UPSC has been nowadays asking questions equally from prelims, in the prelims from ancient, medieval, then modern, art and architecture. So earlier, what was the case? Earlier, more number of questions used to be asked from modern India. Now they are asking equal number of questions from art and architecture, ancient, some questions from medieval, and then also some questions from modern. So they are not asking more questions from only modern nowadays. Earlier that was the case. Many people used to not study ancient and medieval at all because hardly few questions came from ancient and medieval. So UPSC has changed the sort of ratio proportion. They're asking equal number of questions from ancient, medieval, art and culture, and not just from modern India. And even more number of questions come from modern India, you cannot answer all the questions from modern India because UPSC every year they'll find 1 or 2 questions which no student can answer, even if that student has read 10 books on modern India. So therefore, don't rely entirely on modern India. Please make a thorough survey, study of ancient, medieval, art and culture, and modern India, so that your overall score goes up. That's what I would say. Okay, so Bhuvanesh. So synopsis, this is the synopsis for Buddhism. Then of course we'll be discussing about Buddhist councils, differences between Hinayana, Mahayana, etc. So I've told you this. So let us start this first topic, Buddhism. What do you know about Buddhism? Okay, all of you, what do you know about Buddhism? And 6th century BC, but basically about Buddhism, I'm sure all of you know quite a lot about Lord Buddha. Anybody here? 9th avatar of Vishnu, okay, Buddha. Gunjan says Gautama Buddha. Stupas, okay. Srikant says it's a religion arose in the 6th century BC. China's majority religion, Buddhism. Ankush, you're right. Are you sure? China's majority religion is Buddhism? I have my doubts. Then Buddhist councils emerges due to Varna system. Okay, Krishna. Okay, his name Siddhartha Gautam. Okay. Preachings of Buddha followed by us. Bodh Gaya, Ashtangika Marga. He died in Kushinagar, according to Bhuvanesh. Okay, very good. Okay, under Bodhi tree he got Kaivalya, Brakon to Prajni, very good. Okay. So you know quite a lot about Buddha and Buddhism. We will talk about it. Now, UPSC, I told you, keeps on asking questions from this area. Buddhism, please understand, Buddhism as a topic is a research paper in many of the universities. So it's a research paper. And Buddhist studies is a very, very deep topic. Buddhist studies is a research paper in many universities. And it's a very, very deep topic. Because we have various types of Buddhism in various parts of the world. And Buddhism, though born in India, became a world religion. So we have various forms of Buddhism, various practices within Buddhism. So therefore, it's a very, very deep subject. So where do we stop? What is our reference point? Our reference point from the UPSC point of view is the questions asked by the UPSC. Look at the questions asked by the UPSC in the prelims as well as mains. And if you are able to answer almost all those questions, 99% of those questions, then you are going in the right track. And you stop your study there, because you cannot go beyond that. As I told you, it's a research paper. It's very, very deep as a subject. So having said that, let me begin this topic called Buddhism. So importance of the 6th century BC, 600 BC, importance of 600 BC. Now understand this. The 6th century BC is considered to be a revolution. 600 BC is considered to be a revolution in the realm of thought and ideas, in the field of, or in the realm of thought and ideas. Thought and ideas. For a number of religions and philosophies were founded, not only in India, but throughout the world. I repeat, 6th century BC is considered to be a revolution in the field of religion and in the field of thoughts and ideas. A number of religions and philosophies were founded. Number of religions and philosophies were founded not only in India, but throughout the world. For example, you see here on your screen, we have in China, Confucius, who founded Confucianism. Now, you don't get confused here. Confucius founded Confucianism. So this, and you don't need to know anything about Confucianism. What are the teachings of Confucius? You don't need to know that. But in the 6th century BC in China, around the same time, Confucius founded a religion or a sect called Confucianism, and Tao founded Taoism. So Confucius founded Confucianism, and Tao founded Taoism, both in China. Right? Similarly, we have Shintoism, which was founded in Japan. Around the same time, Shintoism was founded in Japan. Then we have in ancient Iran, Persia or Iran, we have Zoroaster, who founded Zoroastrianism. So Zoroastrianism was founded by Zarathustra or Zoroaster. And then we have the Greek philosophers who operated around the same time: Plato, Socrates, Aristotle. Socrates, Plato, Aristotle. And they gave their philosophies. So these are all developments which happened in the 6th century BC in other parts of the world. Confucius and Tao founding Confucianism and Taoism in China. Shintoism was founded in Japan. Zoroaster founded Zoroastrianism in Persia or Iran. And we have the ancient Greek philosophers such as Socrates, Plato, and Aristotle, who gave their philosophies. Now, what was happening in India around this time? There were, in India, 62 sects. In India, there were 62 sects in the 6th century BC, and most of these sects were Gnostic. What is Gnostic? They did not believe in the existence of God. They were all Gnostic. The 62 sects, most of them. Gnostic means did not believe in God. They did not believe in the idea of God. So most of them were Gnostic. And even Buddha was probably influenced by the prevailing thoughts of the period, because Buddha has been called agnostic. Buddha has been called agnostic. What do you mean of agnostic? When Buddha was asked whether God exists or not, when this question was put to Buddha, Buddha just kept quiet. He never said yes or no. He, in fact, he ignored that question, and therefore Buddha has been called agnostic. So Buddha was also probably influenced by the prevailing thought or ideas of the time. So in India, that was the case. 62 sects were operating in India. Most of them were Gnostic. And out of these 62 sects, please understand, 2 became religions. Out of these 62 sects, 2 became religions, that is Buddhism and Jainism. Buddhism and Jainism. And out of these 2, Buddhism became a world religion. Buddhism became a world religion, whereas Jainism is only confined to a few pockets of India. Jainism never went out of India. It is only confined to a few pockets of India, right? Whereas Buddhism became a world religion. In fact, Buddhism is more popular outside India than within India. So this is the introduction to this topic. Did you understand? Importance of the 6th century BC. 62 sects are, what you call Panth. They're not religion. It's a sect is a small group of people who have some common belief systems. They believe, or they have certain rituals. So they believe in those rituals, beliefs, traditions, etc. They follow that. That they are called sects, right? And out of the 62 sects, two became religions, and one a world religion. When atheist is that atheism is what? You don't believe in the existence of God. So 62 sects, most of them were atheistic in nature. They did not believe in the existence of God. Yes, Parsis, they worship the fire, and Jews, they follow Judaism. Jews follow Judaism, whereas Parsis, they worship the fire. They're separate religions, definitely. What is the definition, Bhuvanesh? So I told you that in 6th century BC, 6th century BC is considered a revolution in the field of religion and ideas, or you call thoughts and ideas, because throughout the world, a number of religions and philosophies were founded. And you have in China, Confucius founding Confucianism, Tao founding Taoism, Japan, Shintoism, etc. That's what I told you. It in the realm of thought and ideas, in the field of religion and philosophy. Bhuvanesh, yeah. Parsis were actually migrants from Iran. Gunjan, Parsis migrated from Iran. They came to India around the 9th century. They first came to Gujarat sometime in the 9th century AD, and then they later migrated to Bombay. Nowadays, most of them are found in Bombay, the Parsis. Like John Abraham, the film actor, Bollywood film actor is a Parsi. Tatas are Parsis, JRD Tata, the Tata group, they're all Parsis. Okay, can I move on here? In this period, no. Snehga Rajaram, we will talk about it. See, I'll be confining my study to Buddhism, Jainism, Bhagavatism, Shaivism. When you pick up Nitin Singhania, please make it a point to read these religions also. Go through Islam. So I might give you a handout on Islam. So go through about, talk about, understand about Islam. Go through about Christianity, okay, or Judaism or Parsi religion. So whatever religions are existing in India, you might make us brief study of that, right? Because of constraint of time, I will not be able to discuss every religion. I'm discussing the most important, like Buddhism, Jainism, Bhagavatism, Shaivism, right? And when you read Nitin Singhania, you please go through Islam, Christianity in India, Islam in India, etc. Persia is the old name of Iran. Amanpreet, Persia is the old name of Iran. Now we call it as Iran. Those days it was called Persia. Is there any religion which originated and now not here destroyed? Gunjan. No, Jainism exists even now. Jainism has not got destroyed. Buddhism lost its popularity, but Jainism continues to exist even in India, even now. Though it arose in the 6th century BC, it exists now. Buddhism also exists. We have different forms of Buddhism. Like Shaivism is considered to be the oldest sect of India, the native faith of India. So that exists even now. The Vedic religion or Brahminical religion, which is now called Hinduism, even now exists. So there are so many religions existing, Gunjan. That's why, along with the Chinese civilization, the Indian civilization is considered to be a continuous block of 5,000 years. We are following many of the traditions and practices from the last 5,000 years continuously. Jews, you have the Bene Jews, just one. Bene Jews, you have a small sect who came to India during the modern era, during the World War times, when Hitler was persecuting the Jews. Some of them escaped from Germany, they came to India. Many of the Jews, they're called Bene Jews. You have a minority community existing in Bombay and in some parts of India. They're called Bene Jews. Okay, we move on here, right? So let us talk about the causes for the rise of heterodox sects. Causes for the rise of heterodox sects. Now, what is the meaning of heterodox? What is the meaning of heterodox? That is, heterodox means those which opposed the existing order. Those which oppose the existing order or belief system or belief systems. And what was the existing belief system? Vedic religion, isn't it? Vedic religion was the religion which existed during those days. And we have done ancient India, Rig Vedic period, later Vedic period. You remember? We have done the Vedic chapter, early Vedic period, later Vedic period, religion in the later early Vedic period, and what happened in the later Vedic period with respect to religion. Okay, so here causes for the rise of heterodox sects. That is, heterodox means those which oppose the existing belief systems. So Buddhism and Jainism are called heterodox sects. Buddhism, Jainism, Ajivika sect, Charvaka sect, they all oppose the existing belief system. Did you understand, Srikant? So Buddhism, Jainism, Ajivika sect, Charvaka sect, etc. They're all heterodox sects. They are come under the category of heterodox sects. They're all heterodox. Did you understand? Hello, all of you. Can you raise your hands? Any doubts here? Can I move on? Hinduism is a way of life. Arun, we'll come to that. Just hold on. Hinduism is a way of life. It's not. It is also a religion, but also is a way more of a way of life. Athletic. What do you mean by athletic, Chandrakant? I never used the word athletic. Agnostic is. I told you, Chandrakant. Agnostic is. Buddha never gave a concrete statement as regards the presence or absence of God. When Buddha was asked this question, whether God exists or not, okay, when Buddha was asked whether God exists or not, Buddha did not answer that question. He neither said God exists, neither did he deny the existence of God. He kept quiet. He did not say God is there or not there. He ignored that question. And therefore, Buddha has been called agnostic. Chandrakant, are you clear with that? Okay. I would say Ankush is asking which is the oldest religion. Oldest religion, I would say the Vedic religion or Brahminical religion or what we call Hindu religion. That should be the oldest, I suppose, right? Um, newest religion, I'm not very sure. Ankush. But let me move on. A lot of things to cover. We'll come back here. So let us talk about the causes for the rise of heterodox sects. That is causes for the rise of Buddhism, Jainism, and other heterodox sects like Ajivika sect, Charvaka sect, etc. So first of all, look here on your screen. The Vedic religion had become costly, complex, and unintelligible. The Vedic religion had become costly, complex, and unintelligible. Now I go back to the Vedic chapter. You remember the Vedic period? We have discussed this Vedic period, 1500 to 600 BC, divided into early Vedic period and later Vedic period. Right? So here in the later Vedic period, what was the religion like? What happened to the religion in the later Vedic period? It had become costly, complex, and unintelligible. You can see here, it had become costly. The Vedic religion had become costly, complex, and unintelligible. What's the meaning of that? Costly, complex, and unintelligible. Why costly? Because the emphasis was on elaborate rituals and sacrifices of animals. Emphasis was on elaborate rituals and sacrifices of animals. So thousands and lakhs of animals were being killed in the name of appeasing the gods, pleasing the gods, right? Whereas, if you go back to the early Vedic period, we have discussed the early Vedic religion. How was the early Vedic religion? The Aryans were nature worshippers, isn't it? They used to worship nature. You have Indra, Agni, Vayu, Varuna, etc. So they were nature worshippers, the early Aryans. And they used to it was a simple and materialistic religion. In the early Vedic period, it was a simple and materialistic religion. They used to make offerings of yava. What is yava? Wheat and barley. They used to make offerings of wheat and barley to gods, including fruits and vegetables, etc. And in return, what did the Aryans ask from the gods? Praja, Pashu, Dhana. Isn't it? Praja, mainly sons. Pashu, cattle. and dhana, wealth. So they asked for praja, pashu, and dhana. But in the later Vedic period, what happened? The religion had become costly, complex, and unintelligible. The emphasis was on elaborate rituals and sacrifices of animals. So animals were being killed in thousands and lakhs, and the Vedic religion had become costly and complex. It was not able to satisfy the spiritual yearnings of a common man like you and me, poor person. Let's say he goes to the priest, he goes to the purohit or the priest and tells him his problems. So what will the priest suggest? The priest will suggest you perform these rituals. You pay me this much amount of money, or as dakshina, I perform these rituals, and then you sacrifice this many number of cattle, oxen, bullocks, etc., and then the gods will be pleased, and all your problems will be washed away. So the common person was not able to afford such a costly religion. He did not have the money to perform these rituals and kill so many animals to please the gods. So the Vedic religion had become costly, complex, and unintelligible. Why unintelligible? Because all the instruction was in Sanskrit language, and the common person was not able to understand Sanskrit. It was the language of the elite sections, the rich and the influential sections, the shishtas. The Prakrit was the Desha Bhasha. Prakrit was the language of the masses, not Sanskrit. So all the instructions were in Sanskrit, so the common person could not understand. So this is number one. The Vedic religion had become costly, complex, and unintelligible, and it was not able to satisfy the spiritual yearnings of a common man. This is number one. Are you there with me? This is number one. Number two is the Brahminical domination was challenged by the Kshatriyas. Nukya, on your screen, we go back to the Vedic society. In the later Vedic period, we have four Varnas, isn't it? What are the four Varnas? Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra. Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra. There were four Varnas. But then the Brahmanas were the ones who used to perform the sacrifices and the rituals. They were the persons who knew the Vedas and the Shastras and the Puranas. And the king was a Kshatriya. The king was the Kshatriya. And the Brahmana would perform sacrifices to enhance the power of the king. What are the various sacrifices performed by the Brahmana priest? He would perform the Ashwamedha. He would perform the Ashwamedha sacrifice, the Vajapaya sacrifice, the Rajasuya sacrifice, okay, etc. And who was the one who funded these sacrifices? The king, to perform these sacrifices. But since the Brahmin priest had the knowledge of the Vedas and the Shastras, and he was the one who performed these sacrifices, supposedly to enhance the power of the king, the Brahmana priest began to claim superiority over the Kshatriyas. And this was not liked by the Kshatriyas. Did you understand? So the Brahminical domination was challenged by the Kshatriyas. And both Buddha and Mahavira were Kshatriya princes. Both Buddha and Mahavira were Kshatriya princes. Are you there with me? Hello? So Buddha and Mahavira both were Kshatriya princes. Buddha and Mahavira were Kshatriya princes. Okay, right. So Brahminical domination was challenged by the Kshatriyas. This is number two. Third is Vaishyas. Now, if you remember the Vedic society, there were four Varnas: Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. But only one Varna paid taxes to the government. Can you please answer which Varna paid the taxes to the government? Only one Varna paid taxes to the government. All the other three out of the four did not pay taxes. So which was the Varna which paid taxes? Yogita says Vaishya. Brajneesh says Vaishya. Very good. So most of you have answered it correct. It was the Vaishyas who paid taxes. But if you look at this pyramid here, what was the position of the Vaishyas in the society? Vaishyas were the principal taxpayers. They were the only people paying taxes. But what was their position in the society? Third. You're very good, Brajneet, Ankush, Ketan. They were third in the Varna order. And the Vaishyas did not like it. They wanted to improve their social position. The Vaishyas felt, we are the only people paying taxes. But look, our position is the third. We want to improve our social position. So it was the Vaishyas who promoted Buddhism and Jainism. They were the ones who financed or gave donations, money to strengthen Buddhism and Jainism. This is number two. Now, this is number three. Vaishyas wanted to improve their social position. Did you understand that? Please write down there. Vaishyas wanted to improve their social position. Vaishyas wanted to improve their social position. Gunjan, did you understand? Gunjan, you're talking about barter system. Just focus on the class. I've discussed about all these things when I did Vedic period. Why are you asking me about barter system now? When I'm doing religions. Okay, Gunjan, focus on what I'm doing, please. Right? Later you can ask me separately, whatever doubts you have. right? But then stick to the topic. Doubts relevant to the topic. Okay, this is number 3. Number 4, let me ask you a question. Let us make it interactive. What was the main occupation of the Vedic Aryans in the later Vedic period? In the later Vedic period, what was the main occupation of the Aryans? What was the main occupation of the Aryans in the later Vedic period? Agriculture, very good. Srikant, Bhimare, Krishna, everybody's answered correctly. Brajneet, not cow, agriculture. Agriculture was the main occupation. Very good. Now look here. Agriculture was the main occupation in the later Vedic period. Later Vedic period, agriculture was the main occupation. Very good. Now, to till the land, understand this, to till the land, those days there were no tractors. They were dependent on the cattle wealth. They were dependent on bulls. They were dependent on cattle, bulls and cows. Okay, but then the Vedic religion relied on or emphasized on elaborate sacrifices of animals. So thousands and lakhs of cattle, bullocks and cows, etc., were being slaughtered in the name of appeasing the gods, in the name of pleasing the gods. And there was a rapid depletion in the cattle wealth. And Buddha and Mahavira spoke about ahimsa. Buddha and Mahavira spoke about ahimsa, non-violence. And their teachings became popular amongst the agricultural classes. So in the new agricultural economy, was dependent on cattle wealth. It was dependent on cattle wealth. And both Buddha and Mahavira spoke about ahimsa. As a result, their teachings became popular because it was necessary to keep the cattle wealth, safeguard the cattle wealth, whereas the Vedic religion emphasized on elaborate sacrifices of animals. Did you understand? Therefore, the teachings of Buddha and Mahavira became very popular because they spoke about ahimsa, non-violence, and that was very necessary to keep the cattle wealth intact because cattle was necessary in the new agricultural economy. Clear? Samajh mein aa gaya na? Can you raise your hands? Please raise your hands. Did you understand? We are just applying whatever knowledge you already know. No, we have discussed ancient India, Vedic period. We have thoroughly discussed the same thing. We are telling it in a different manner. That's all, right? Then understand this. All of you clear? Next. Around this time, around the 6th century BC, there were 6 philosophers who gave their own philosophies as to how to attain moksha. What is moksha? Hello, we have discussed this. What is moksha when I did Vedic period? What definition, Bhuvanesh? What is moksha? Freedom from rebirth. Very good. Freedom from rebirth. Freedom from rebirth. Yeah. Now there were 6 philosophers. Look here on your screen. There were 6 philosophers who gave their own methods to attain moksha or freedom to attain moksha. That is, be free from rebirth. For example, we have Sankhya. Sankhya philosophy given by Kapila. Kapila was the founder of this philosophy called Sankhya philosophy. What does this philosophy talk about? I'll deal with it when I do philosophy topic, right? Similarly, Patanjali, he says that if you do yoga, you can attain moksha, right? Then Akshapada Gautama, he gave his philosophy of Nyaya philosophy. Similarly, Kannada gave his philosophy of Vaisheshika. Purva Mimamsa given by Jaimini and Uttara Mimamsa given by Vyasadeva Badarayana. Each of these philosophers gave their own philosophies has to attain moksha. They said, if you follow my method, you will attain moksha. People got confused because Patanjali is saying do yoga. Kapila is saying you follow Sankhya philosophy. And others are saying follow your own, my philosophy. People got confused, right? And here comes Buddha and Mahavira, who spoke in a very simple language. Buddha spoke in Pali. And Mahavira spoke in Ardhamagadi. These are dialects of Prakrit. These two are dialects of Prakrit, Pali and Ardhamagadi. And people could easily understand what Buddha was telling them or Mahavira was telling them. So their teachings are very, very simple to understand. It was devoid of any rituals or sacrifices. No method to follow, no rituals to follow. It was more ethical and moralistic in nature, how a person is supposed to conduct himself in his family and in society. That's what they spoke about. So it was more ethical and moralistic in nature, the teachings of Buddha and Mahavira. And they spoke in the vernacular language. And therefore, their teachings became very, very popular. Did you understand? These are the various reasons for the rise of heterodox sects, the rise of Buddhism and Jainism. Bhuvanesh, I told you they are dialects of Prakrit. Prakrit has 2 dialects, Pali and Ardhamagadi. These are 2 forms of Prakrit. Bhuvanesh, did you get me? Gary, my last point is that I told you Buddha spoke in Pali, Mahavira spoke in Ardha Magadhi, and their teachings were very, very simple, easy to follow. It was more ethical and moralistic in nature. The teachings of Buddha and Mahavira were more ethical and moralistic. They spoke about ethics and morals. They did not speak about any rituals or sacrifices. And people easily could understand them because they were spoken in the vernacular medium, local language. Yes, did you understand? So that is called Ardha Magadhi. Prakrit has two dialects, Pali and Ardha Magadhi. Clear? Are you there with me? These are the various reasons for the rise of heterodox sects. Probably Ankush, probably generated from Magadhi language. Anchal, that is a dialect of Prakrit, Ardha Magadhi. Probably derived from Magadhi language, from the region of Magadha. Can you please raise your hands? Did you understand? Can I move on? Any doubts? Any clarifications required? Can I move on? Okay. Okay, now let us talk about Buddha, Lord Buddha. This is Lord Buddha's picture. In this sculpture, he is sitting in the Dharma Chakra Pravartana Mudra. So Buddha is sitting in this posture, Dharma Chakra Pravartana Mudra. That's called Dharma Chakra Pravartana Mudra. So he sat like this when he gave his first sermon, first discourse. So don't worry about it. We'll talk about it. Now, Gautama Buddha, let me tell you the story. Now, please understand, this is whatever story I'm going to tell you now is relevant from the exam point of view. Okay, I'm not trying to waste time here. I have no intention to waste time because I have limited time to finish the syllabus. And whatever time has been given to me is sufficient. But once you hear the story of the Buddha, you will be able to answer almost all the questions asked by the UPSC in the prelims. And they have asked about more than 15 questions in the prelims from last many years from prelims. Buddhism is a very popular topic. So from the story of the Buddha, which you hear now, you should be able to answer all those questions. That's what I hope and pray. Now let's start this topic called Gautama Buddha. So Gautama Buddha, this is the most popular version of his reign period, 563 to 483 BC. So he lived for 80 years. He's supposed to have lived for 80 years on this earth. And this is the most acceptable time period of the Buddha, 563 to 483 BC. Now understand this. Probably, yeah, this probably belongs to the Gandhara school. Now look here. Whatever has we rely to study the history of Lord Buddha, we rely on hagiography and the allegorical stories connected with the life of the Buddha. What is hagiography? Hagiography means religious biography. Hagiography means religious biography. And allegory means what? Mystery stories. Mystery stories connected with the life of the Buddha, connected with Buddha. So hagiography means religious biography and allegory means mystery stories. Hello, are you there with me? So here, whatever has been written about Lord Buddha was written 200 to 300 years after his death by the monks of Sri Lanka. Hello, please understand this. Whatever was written about Lord Buddha was written 200 to 300 years after Buddha's death. After Buddha's death. And because of this time gap, because of this time lag between his death and what was written about him, lots of facts have got mixed up with fiction. So lots of facts have got mixed up with fiction. Did you understand what I just now told you? So because of this time lag or time gap between the death of the Buddha and what was written about him, lots of facts have got mixed up with fiction. So when I tell you the story of the Buddha, please don't use your rational mind. Don't use your scientific mind. How can this be possible? Because your rational mind will say this is impossible. But then this is what the Buddhists believe. And therefore we have to believe it. Similarly, we have some fantastic stories in Hinduism. In all religions, we have some fantastic stories, isn't it? For example, we have Hanuman who picked up the entire mountain and he flew, right? But then if you use a logical brain, do you think it is true? No. But from thousands of years, people have believed this to be true. And that's why the Honorable Supreme Court has told that it is part of the belief system and therefore it is considered to be true. Did you understand? Therefore, we have to just close your eyes and believe to be true, it to be true. So don't use your rational brain. scientific minds to question whatever the Buddhists believe to be true. So that's what, having said that, let me begin. We'll come back here. So there are three main sources. There are three main sources for the study of Buddhism. There are three main sources.